The session will be broken down into 3 phases. I'm going to start by discussing first some of the most common barriers to physical activity and fitness. I'm going to be joined by Riham Fakhruddin, who's a licensed dietitian and a life coach as well, who's going to add onto this input and give us her own experience in terms of sustaining nutrition goals. And I'm also going to be joined by Victoria Debian, who is a registered yoga teacher, and she's going to give us her own input on yoga and exercise and yoga on sustainable goals. So let's start first. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm going to introduce myself briefly. My name is Salam Zahruddin. I'm the operation director of WellFit Consultancy, which is a corporate wellness corporate recently established in Dubai. My background is that in physical therapy. I have a bachelor in science and physical therapy, and I studied in Colorado State University a course in ergonomic specialty. I also taught fitness professionals and exercise professionals for the past 4 years, since 2017, at Inspired Fitness Academy in Lebanon. And I authored and helped co-author 4 scientific textbooks that are related to health and fitness. So without further ado, let's start with the most common barriers pertaining to exercise. Feel free to type a message in the chat, raise your hand if you feel like you want to speak something out loud, if you want to engage in this conversation. It is highly encourageable at this point. So the number one barrier and the number one struggle that we find against exercise and well-being is the lack of time. For all the attendees who live in Dubai, I'm pretty sure you're well familiar with that. The hectic lifestyle and the increased work demand, especially in the past 2 years, have increased this struggle and this barrier against exercise. So for each barrier, I'm going to suggest or to prescribe certain tips that may help. However, I need to be realistic as well. Not all these tips are going to help 100% of the population 100% of the times. So we're going to be presenting several tips and several, I don't know if we can call them hacks, but rest assured they're not guaranteed to be working with everyone. It's just about you trying and experimenting with which tip can actually suit your lifestyle and can actually help you out. So when we speak of lack of time, there are several factors about having less time to exercise. One factor is the commitments in the daily lifestyle. So let's say people who have families, who have kids in the morning, and who have, let's say, 3 to 4 certain types of responsibilities throughout the day, between taking care of their families, their kids, and taking care of themselves, and then also working. Time is of value, and time is hard to be found when it comes to exercise. However, the good thing about exercise when it comes to just improving health and well-being is that you don't need to dictate or to dedicate a long portion of your time during the day. Our main thought when it comes to exercise, or our main time frame when it comes to exercise, is at least 1 hour, because that's what we're familiar with, that's what we are acquainted with. However, you don't need to be exercising for 1 hour. According to the physical activity guidelines for the USA, which were updated in 2018, your target goals along the week is to exercise for around 150 minutes of moderate to moderately hard intensity workouts or exercise. No matter how you divide this time, you're still going to reach your goal in improving your health and reducing the chances of getting injured or having chronic diseases that you can avoid, such as diabetes, heart conditions, and so on. However, the same guidelines also mention that even if you can't exercise for 150 minutes per week, exercising for whatever amount of time is still better than not exercising at all. So we have a certain population which we call weekend warriors. Those are the population who can only exercise during the weekends. Now, the fitness industry sometimes may make fun of this notion and concept that people are just exercising in the weekend. However, scientifically speaking, this is proven to be much better than not exercising at all. So when it comes to lack of time, as a start, find any time to do any type of activity other than manual labor. So we're not talking about cleaning the house and doing house chores. We're talking about any dedicated physical activity for whatever period of time. Start with that, and you may be building along with that. Now, for those who don't have families and kids and those responsibilities, it may be a good idea to start thinking about exercising in the morning. We're going to do a giveaway at the end of this session for all the attendees that may help you with exercising in the morning and building an easy and practical morning routine, which we're going to announce at the end of this session. If you have anything to add about the lack of time, please feel free to add in the chat. However, to save us all time, I'm going to skip directly to the second barrier and then discuss this if you added anything in the chat. So the second barrier to exercise and sustainable goals is the inability to commit to a recommended program. So what I mean by a recommended program is mostly for guys. It's recommended to build muscles and lose fat at the same time. So it's recommended to do resistance training or hitting the gym and doing strength training. Whereas for the ladies, it's more common to hear that it's more recommended to do cardiovascular work because they're worried about building muscle mass. I'm not saying that's particularly true. But this is mainly the recommended programs that are pushed through the mainstream. However, this is a huge concern and a huge problem because when it comes to improving your health and the average standard, there is no such thing as a recommended program. A recommended program is whatever program that you can fit in, that you can enjoy, and that you can sustain. So whether that is yoga, circuit training, CrossFit, strength training, bodybuilding, whatever that program is, if you find yourself that you belong within this parameter of training, that you're enjoying this type of training, just do it. Go ahead and do that. Because there is no such thing as a guy or a man has to do this type of training and the lady has to do that part of training. You can do whatever you want. You can enjoy any activity that you want because, again, we're setting goals that are related to health and well-being. We're not setting goals that are related to competing in a fitness challenge or competing in a competition or the Olympics or whatever that is. So just make sure that you enjoy yourself as well. Victoria is going to talk about yoga as a recommended program or how different modalities of exercise can change our perception of exercise and our sustainability as well with that. So that being said, we're going to move on to barrier number 3, which is the lack of enthusiasm. Now, this is something that I personally struggle with from time to time, and it's very common for every person to struggle with consistency and this consistent motivation when it comes to working out. And the fact that we are going to be consistently motivated by itself is a lie. No one ever is consistently motivated at all. And even if someone is consistently motivated, relying on motivation to work out and exercise is not a sustainable goal. The more sustainable goal is relying on commitment, discipline, and being aware of why you're exercising in the first place, being in touch with the reason and the need for your body to be in a state of exercise for at least, let's say, 3 to 5 times a week. So when it comes to enthusiasm, first of all, we want to get out of the notion that we need to be enthusiastic, that we need to be motivated. We need to push to do the workouts that we feel less enjoying while doing. And those are the workouts that will matter more on the long run. However, that being said, if sometimes you feel like you can't do a workout, that you're physically tired, that you're fatigued, it could be that your body is sending you a signal that it's not ready to do a workout or that it's overwhelmed and that it needs to rest. Also, that being said, another tip that can help is to keep on doing trial and error and finding your sweet spot when it comes to exercise. So I do personal training in my afternoon time or the evening time. And in most of the times, I may start with a program for my clients and end up after 2 to 3 months doing a totally different program. And this happens frequently. There is no one program that's going to fit everyone. There's no one size fits all. And even though sometimes me being exposed to the science and the research, even though the science and the research may say one thing in terms of specific goals and specific training, I would care less, because even if I know that there's a certain type of training that is best for any goal, if my clients aren't enjoying this training and they don't feel the sense of belonging to this training modality, I'm just going to skip past through it, because I'd rather do 70% good rather than aiming for 100% and doing 0%. So sustainability in that sense means that we need to be less perfectionists and more realistic. I want to be a doer rather than just a planner. So that's when it comes to the lack of enthusiasm in training. As I said, feel free to mention any point. I'm going to stop after I mention these points to reflect on them and to hear back from you as well. Another barrier towards exercise and sustained well-being is the lack of qualified supervision. By qualified supervision, I mean qualified and certified fitness instructors and trainers present at the gym. Speaking in Dubai, since I'm living in Dubai and I'm assuming most of the audience is in Dubai, many of the tower gyms or the local gyms in your buildings are sometimes unqualified are sometimes unsupervised. So even if you find sometimes a fitness trainer at that gym, it's not necessary that they're going to be helping you out. And me being exposed to different gyms in different buildings, I always see people doing exercises in the wrong form, or sometimes it could be a dangerous form, which is a bit of a challenge. The other challenge in that sense, to be realistic, is to hire qualified supervision is not particularly affordable for all. So sometimes you may have to spend a big budget that you're not willing to spend. And this shouldn't be one solution or the only solution for it. Another solution, if you want to seek qualified supervision and you can't afford for it, is to go for online training, to go for an online program where you can shoot certain videos of you doing a certain exercise and the qualified instructor correcting you on those exercises. Going for group exercise training also could be a solution, because a group instructor can at least tell you the most minimal guidance on how to do an exercise and on the correct form. And also in our announcement at the end of the session, we're going to provide a tool that may or may not work for you, but we hope it works, that can assist you in a qualified supervision. Now, to move on, another barrier against exercise is the lack of facilities and space. Nowadays, this is less common, but I felt that I still need to mention it. When it comes to facilities and space, it always depends on the country. It always depends on which place, even within the country, you're living at. So, for example, in let's say in Dubai, first of all, facilities and space isn't a major concern, because most, if not almost all buildings have a gym, regardless of the condition of the gym. Most buildings and towers already have a gym, and you can always find affordable prices for gyms, because there is a huge market for it. So there are lots of options when it comes to choosing your gym. But let's say even in Europe or in the USA, some villages are rural enough that they don't include a gym, or the nearest gym is a long distance away. So for that, nowadays you don't need anymore any space or facility. With the most minimal of equipment, or even with your own body weight, you can do exercise and you can sustain exercise, because you have so many things that you can do with your body weight first, and with very affordable equipment such as a $2 elastic band. You can still exercise with that, and it will provide you a spectrum of new options and new tools that you can exercise with. However, the challenge here is, if you don't have space and you're exercising only at home, at some point you may suffer more from a lack of enthusiasm and not being able to stick with the recommended program that you can do only at home. So maybe then it could be time to start exploring what's outside and what are the options outside, maybe building your own sort of home facility or home gym. And the equipment that you need to build a home gym are way cheaper than those you find at local gyms and at commercial gyms. Or even exploring options and subscribing to a gym that's, even if it's far away from your living, something that's close to your workplace, so that you can return back to the gym after you finish work and then back home. So, and to experiment always with the different options that you may find. Now, one also particularly major barrier against exercise and sustainable well-being is the failure in reaching your goals. So what we mean by that is you trying exercise, being committed and disciplined for a certain period of time, but at the end of this period, you're not able to reach your goals. You're not able to reach your goals, or you fail in reaching your goals. This is one major barrier that can create a relapse. So you stop exercising, or it can create a low self-efficacy. So you stop believing in yourself that if you exercise, you're going to be reaching your goals. Statistically speaking, more than 50% of individuals drop out of training after 6 months of starting. So the commitment usually is 3 to 6 months. And there's a huge population also that drops out before or around 3 months of starting exercise, because between the second and third month, the level of progress becomes lower. And if they don't accompany that exercise with more discipline in terms of nutrition, sleep, and general well-being, they find it even harder to see progress, and then they start backing out of exercise. So to challenge this, or to overcome this huge barrier, first of all, you need to understand your goals. You need to break down your goals into shorter term goals. Losing weight or losing fat is not a sustainable goal. No human whatsoever is going to be satisfied at any point in their fat composition or in their fat mass. We are greedy. In our nature, humans are greedy. So no matter what fat percentage you have, no matter what body weight you have, you're always going to seek more. You're always going to want more because that's how we're programmed. That's how we're built. So just targeting losing weight or just targeting building muscle mass is not a sustainable goal. You need to break down this goal into shorter term goals and create easier, more practical, and also quantitative goals. So this is why you find many people interested in strength training, because strength is something you can measure by the amount of weight that you're lifting at the gym, hopefully with the right technique though. Endurance training also is measurable with your heart rate and with several fitness parameters that don't cost you anything. However, just aiming for muscle mass and fat loss is not sustainable. You need to find something else, a type of program that you're committed to, certain components of fitness different than just body composition, maybe flexibility, balance, endurance, that you can also find progress within. And every once in a while, switching things off or turning things around, experimenting with new types of programs, with new types of exercises. And this is something that I also do from time to time with my clients, to experiment with new things, to try different workouts, different modalities, and see where the person can fit best. So that's in terms of the failure in reaching your goals. First of all, you need to set clear quantitative goals, timetable goals, and then switch things around, experiment, because there's no way you're going to explore or discover what exactly you want to exercise or what exactly you want to sustain. You're always going to try new things. The first thing we try is mostly the thing that's mostly available, which is the gym. But working out in the gym and just lifting iron doesn't make sense for many people. They just don't understand the idea why I'm going to lift a dumbbell that's 12 kilograms, feel pain in my muscle, feel failure, feel helplessness at the end of each set, and then you expect me to continue doing this time and time again. So for that, you need to experiment with new modalities and new programs every once in a while. Now, the last barrier before I move on to my guests in this session is the fear of working out in public. Statistically speaking, around 20% of overall individuals are afraid of working out in public, or they list this intimidation and fear as one of the main barriers against commitment to exercise. And I'm speaking here about global reports that were performed in the USA, specifically in 2017. That was the last date I am familiar with. So first of all, we need to identify one thing. Absolutely no one cares how you look like when you work out in public. If anyone is so focused on you and so attached on how you are working out in public or your fitness shape or your physical shape, that's 100% their problem, not yours. They're the problem. They have an issue. Besides that, absolutely no one cares about how you look exercising or your current state, because everyone is busy being insecure about themselves. The primary drive of people going to the gym is insecurity. So don't worry. As much as you are insecure about your body, if this is a gap or if this is a limitation of you working out, everyone else is also insecure about their body. Everyone else is trying to impress or trying to be bigger. Even bodybuilders, a significant population of bodybuilders have something called body dysmorphia. They think they're much smaller than they actually are. It's not like they're being humble. No, they genuinely think they're much smaller than they actually are. Whereas for the rest of the population, we see them as huge boulders. So that's step number one when it comes to if you have any fear of working out in public. Step number two, don't work out in public. So in my experience in Dubai, for example, almost all tower gyms or local gyms and buildings, I see most people who work out there as beginners or to intermediate levels, because even the gyms themselves aren't equipped with endless plates of mass or with endless dumbbells or with the right tools and machines that powerlifters and bodybuilders and CrossFit athletes need. So the community that you may find at your local gym or at your tower gym is mostly people who are around your fitness level if you're just starting out. That's number one. Two, working out from home with huge options pertaining to exercise selection, to online coaches and all that, especially after the pandemic. There are plenty of options when it comes to that. That's also an option for you to start working out until you build this level of self-efficacy, confidence, and you being comfortable with your own body to start working out at the gym. But also at some point you need to step out of your comfort zone and start working out in the gym or any public place to discover firsthand that no one cares. No one cares how you look. Everyone's just focused entirely on themselves. So those are some of the most common exercise barriers. I would like to hear out from you, and thank you for your attendance and listening. If you would like to add any exercise barriers, if you would like to add your experience, I'm going to give a minute while I hear out from you before I move on to my guest, Riham Fakhruddin, who is a licensed dietitian and a certified life coach, who's going to answer some questions as well pertaining to exercise commitment and lifestyle commitment and sustainability in terms of that. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them out now. And I would also like to hear out from you, whether in the chat box or if you'd like to open out your microphone, just raise your hand so that we can organize it. I would also like to hear out your own experience when it comes to exercise commitment, and how was your journey? What were the biggest barriers to exercise when you first started out compared to now? Khalid, please go ahead.
Hi, okay. Well, what I feel is one of the barriers is we are not able to discipline ourselves. There are certain things which we need to keep in our mind or practice in order to organize ourselves. What we feel is, first of all, it should start with trying to sleep on time. We are generally late in sleeping. We don't have a proper or a fixed routine on when we are going to sleep. Sometimes we sleep at 10, sometimes 11, 12. Or if we don't organize this part of our daily routine, then we will not be able to have a proper routine on having a proper routine for exercising. Now, exercising can start with something in the morning with a small stretching, but what it needs to happen is consistency. So I feel sleep or sleeping or regularizing our sleeping pattern is very important. And for that, one of the things we can take care is we don't eat too late and eat a heavy meal in the evening. Because if we sleep late, have a heavy meal in the evening or night dinner, then it disturbs our routine also, sleeping pattern. So I just wanted to highlight or emphasize on the sleeping, which if we are able to organize, of course, many of us are struggling on this, including myself. So it's easier to identify a problem, but to practically address, it's a challenge. Yeah,
Definitely.
so we always need to challenge ourselves, and I feel that it's not necessary to join a gym to start with. If that does not permit due to various reasons, you can start with stretching exercises, yoga, as you mentioned. I'm sure Victoria is going to highlight more on this aspect as well. But that's my one of the points which I wanted to add.
Amazing.
On that. Yeah.
Thank you, Khalid. Definitely agreed. Sleeping is a huge factor. And when we don't sleep, it affects our entire systems, like even the mental health, the physical health, the ability to exercise. On the next day, they're all affected. And Victoria shows you a thumbs up because she agrees as well. So definitely 100%. Thank you, Khalid, for your engagement on that. If we don't have any other feedbacks or input, I'm going to move to Riham. So Riham, welcome aboard. Hi Riham.
هاي سلام كيفك؟
الحمد لله، أنت كيف؟
I'm good الحمد لله. ما بعرف إذا صوت واضح أو الكاميرا واضحة مبينة
Yes.
ولا.
Yeah, voice is clear. Riham's going to speak in Arabic. I'm going to translate in English. So Riham, هسأل أسئلة بالإنجلش as well if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind, of course. I can speak in English, but I feel it's more easier to express myself in Arabic.
For sure. أكيد.
بس لحظة سلام، ما بعرف طلع عندك الكاميرا لأنه أنا مش شايفة.
Yes.
Okay, باينة عندك. Good.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Riham, question number one. First of all, would you like to add any other barriers to exercise since you're a certified life coach as well, you're into behavior and behavioral change?
اوكي ليك بدي بما انه اخر نقطه حكينا عنها اللي هي lack of sleep، كثير مهم النوم. يعني لما ما يكون عندنا ساعات نوم كافيه او حتى lack of quality of sleep، يعني جوده النوم عندنا it's not good enough. اوكي، ففي عندك اشخاص كل ساعه كل ساعتين بيقوموا بالليل، سو هيدا الشيء اكيد رح ياثر على الانرجي ليفلز تبعولهم بالنهار ومنها الاداء الرياضي تبعهم. هيدي نقطه. تاني نقطة إذا بدنا نحكي عن الجانب النفسي، يعني سواء شخص عنده ستريس، عنده any type of مثلا mental disorder, depression، so هيدا الشيء كمان رح يأثر على جودة حياته بشكل عام ومنها الانرجي ليفلز أكيد. هيدا إذا ما نحكي من الشق النفسي.
So to translate, what Riham is saying is to consolidate and to approve on the idea of sleep as a major factor, and not just the quantity of sleep, but the quality of sleep as well, because it can affect all systems and it can affect also exercise performance, which is an excellent point, and mental state and mental health as well as a factor that could affect commitment and sustainability. So thank you, Riham, for this.
You're welcome. اوكي سو اذا بدنا نحكي من الناحيه النيوتريشس، من الناحيه الغذائيه، شو ممكن ياثر على الانرجي ليفلز او على الطاقه اللي عندنا قبل التمرين. في كثير اشخاص عندهم فكره انه انا اذا اتبعت نظام غذائي ستريكت كثير a very strict diet it's better لانه رح فيني to lose weight اكثر، اخسر وزن اكثر، اخسر دهون اكثر، سو بهيدي الطريقه حوصل للهدف اللي بدي اياه اكثر او اسرع. سو هذا الشيء هي معلومه كثير it's a myth، يعني شيء جدا خاطئ لانه ما رح يعطينا طاقه. خلينا ناخذ مثال مثلا لو كارب دايت او انواع الدايت المعتمده على بس البروتين وعلى الفات ومينيمم كاربس. لازم نعرف انه نحن اكبر مزود طاقه لنا اذا بدك البنزين لجسمنا هو الكربوهيدرات. سو نحن اذا ما عم ناخذ كميه كربوهيدرات كافيه ما رح تعطينا طاقه بالمقابل. سو هيدي نقطه كثير مهمه. نوعيه الدايت اللي نحن متبعينها هل هي كافيه لتعطينا طاقه للاداء الرياضي تبعنا او لا.
Amazing. So to translate as well, what Riham is mentioning is the quality of food that we can get. It can also affect performance and sustainability when it comes to exercise, because what Riham is mentioning is that carbohydrates are the primary source of fuel for the body, especially when it comes to the brain. So if we're forcing ourselves into a low carb diet, which may help us lose weight at start, and it's a nice strict diet for people who want a short fix or a quick fix, it can also affect, however, performance and exercise, sustainability and exercise, and also our general physical activity state. So thank you, Riham, for this. So what we're saying here are nutrition barriers that can affect exercise and that can affect sustainability as well. So can we highlight some other barriers as well when it comes to food and nutrition?
lack of vitamins and minerals. يعني maybe الدايت يمكن يكون كافي إذا ما نحكي calorie wise يكون كافي في enough calories، بس it's not like nutritious، يعني معتمد على الفاست فود. يعني في عندها أشخاص فكرة إنه أنا فيني let's say عندي 1500 كالوري فيني أخذهم chocolate وجانك فود it's okay، بس ما إنه nutritious، يعني ما بيعطوك الفيتامينز النسبيين المينرالز النسبيين اللي يعطوك تبوست هيدا الانرجي اللي عندك. it's not about بس carbs بروتين وفات، شو في بقلبهم كمان اشياء بتغذينا. هاي شغله كمان كتير مهمه. so the quality of the diet او the food بالدايت تبعنا كمان تلعب دور كتير مهم او كتير كبير. بدي اعلق بس على شغله قلتها اللي هي البودي ايمج. في كتير اشخاص بس يروحوا ليعملوا رياضه، يعني وانا بواجه هذا الشيء مع الكلاينتس تبعولي بيقولوا لي انه انا ما بتمرن لانه بس روح على الجيم الناس في بتطلع فيه. انه بشكل غريب لانه عندي big body weight او حجم جسم كبير كتير، سو بيستحوا، سو هذا الشيء بيأثر على ثقتهم بنفسهم. سو كتير حبيت اللي قلته انه فعلا nobody cares شو انت عم تعمل، وحتى لو هن عم يطلعوا is their problem مش انت، لانه ما بدنا نخلي شيء هيك سطحي يأثر على هدفنا او الموتيفيشن. وللاشخاص اللي بيقولوا I need someone to motivate me، يعني في اشخاص بيقولوا انا ما عندي حدا يشجعني. You don't need anybody to motivate you, it's within، يعني it's inside. So انت اذا بدي احكي عن الجول سيتنج، يعني في اشخاص اللي بيخليهم يفشلوا يوصلوا للجول تبعهم، واحده منهم انه they set like goals مش منطقيه. let's say بدي اضعف 10 كيلو بشهر، طب ليه؟ مين لحقنا؟ هي اول شيء. يعني نحن منا بكومبيتيشن مع حالنا، لا بالعكس نحن عم نغير لايف ستايل. نحن اذا بدنا نختار شيء سستينبل معنا بدها تكون حاطين اهداف منطقيه، ما بدنا نستعجل، ما بدنا نحس انه انا ما عندي enough confidence بحالي لاعمل هيدا الشيء، ما عندي motivation، مستعجله لاشوف هيدي النتيجه. سو هيدا الشيء كمان بياثر سلبا علينا. وكمان بدي احكي، او بدك تكفي برجع بكمل شو بدي احكي؟
For sure, to summarize.
طولت عليك، اتفضل.
So to mention the first point when it comes to barriers in terms of nutrition and exercise are unsustainable diets and diets that we cannot afford or that we cannot sustain as well. This is something very important, and I wanted to ask you later on as well your opinion on strict diet, but we'll leave that to a separate question. And you also had an idea and an intervention regarding body image when it comes to body image and motivation. So definitely body image, you were reassuring that it shouldn't be a barrier. Mostly people who are looking toward this, let's say, overweight person at the gym, they're just looking to find out if they know this person. They just want to see who just entered the gym. Yani they would care less if they're overweight or they're underweight. And also regarding, you mentioned motivation, that we don't need motivation. Exactly. I suffer from this with clients who are excited to start working out with a personal trainer. But once they start working out with a personal trainer, they find out that there aren't magic fixes or magic cures. They suddenly start losing this motivation, where in fact it's purely because of what you said. They don't know why they're exercising yet. So in other words, they still don't know. They know they need to exercise, but they're not in touch with the reason to exercise. So thank you for these interventions, Liam, and thank you, Victoria, also for writing them down. You also wanted to say, if you want.
Hey, I want to mention بس شيء بخصوص الوزن والقياسات، weight and body measurements، especially نحن عم نحكي بموضوع الرياضة، وإذا عم نحكي weight resistance training. سو نحن في اشخاص بيصيروا انه الهدف تبعهم انا بدي اخسر وزن، سو بيصيروا طالعين نازلين على الميزان لانه انا هدفي اخسر وزن، بس بنفس الوقت they're building muscles، انه عم بيعملوا weight resistance weight training. فاللي عم بيصير انه هن they're losing fat maybe they're gaining muscles، مرات بيبين الوزن ثابت على الميزان او احيانا بيبين حتى زايد. بس لما نيجي نعمل نحن let's say البودي composition analysis لنشوف انه هل هيدا الشخص نازل fat percentage، شو صار بالمسل جين تبعيته، بيبين انه he's losing fat، بس لانه he's gaining muscle ما بقى فينا نعتمد على الميزان. that's why انا I really recommend انه الناس تاخذ البودي measurements، وزن الصدر، الخصر، البطن، الايدين، لنعرف قد ايه فعلا نحن عم نخسر دهون، ما يعتمدوا بس على الوزن especially اذا عم يعملوا اي نوع من الرياضه. مشان بس ما هيدا الشيء يأثر على نفسيتهم، انه انا I'm working hard, I'm working out, I'm following a very healthy diet، بنفس الوقت ما عم شوف نتيجة.
Amazing. So what Riham is mentioning also as a barrier towards commitment and sustainability and health and well-being is the wrong measurements. So anyone who's exercising and who's starting to take their weight on a daily basis, they may be losing fat, they may be getting healthier, but their weight is stagnating, it's staying the same. That's physiologically because they're building muscle mass while they're losing fat. So technically speaking, they are improving, but they're still not seeing this improvement, or they're not believing in this improvement because their weight is still the same, or maybe sometimes they're gaining a bit of weight. So this shouldn't affect us. What Riham is saying is to take body composition measurements in other ways, such as circumference measurements. And you can find those on YouTube so easily. The circumference that you need to buy is for like 1 or 2 dirhams on Amazon. It's very cheap. And or taking body composition in any other way besides the scale or accompanied by the scale, so that we have different measures where we can measure our progress in that sense. So thank you for that idea, Riham. Any other barriers you would like to add?
Yes، بدي أحكي عن fear of failure. في كتير أشخاص ما رح بلش لأنه I'm sure أنا حأفشل، ما رح أوصل للي أنا على طول بفشل. So أنا I won't even take هيدي الترايل أو شو ما كان أو هيدي الستيب فورورد لأنه أنا رح أفشل. So بخافوا من هيدا الشيء. So مجرد الفكرة الخوف هيدا بخليهم يضلهم محلهم من دون ولا خطوة لقدام. So بدي يفكر الواحد طب it's okay، حتى لو أنا فشلت اليوم رح أرجع عيدها، فشلت بكرة رح أرجع عيدها. طب خليني أجرب غير طريقة تفكيري، خليني مثلا استشير حدا اختصاصه هيدا الموضوع. يعني مش عيب ولا غلط نحن نسأل نصيحة مختص. ما يضلوا في أشخاص يعني سوري على الكلمة رح أقولها بيسألوا الجيران وبيسألوا أنت كيف ضعفتي. لا اسألوا الشخص المختص، يعني أشخاص اللي درست مثلك مثل أز دايتيشن وأكيد دايتيشنز تانيين. نسأل الشخص اللي عنده الجواب الصح، ما ناخذ نصايح من مين ما كان. واخر نقطه بس بدي احكي عنها البرايورتيز تبعيتنا نحن. كيف حاطين البرايورتيز تبعيتنا، اولوياتنا؟ هل نحن حاطين مثلا انه قوم اعمل صبحيه ساعه هي الاولويه، ولا اخذ 5 minutes الشات تبعيتي القهوه وقوم بلش رياضه بعدين ببلش بالاشياء الثانيه؟ هل حاطه انه الاولاد وكل هالشيء شيء قبلي وانا اخر شيء اذا بقي لي وقت من نهار بعمل رياضتي، ولا لا انا حاطه حالي كمان من الاولويات بالنهار؟ يعني هذا الموضوع بيفهموه اكثر السيدات او المرأة بشكل عام، لأنه دايما بتحط عائلتها قبل. مش غلط، بس كمان كتير مهم تحطي حالك أنت من بين هيدي الأولويات ليطلع لك حصة مثل ما بيقولوا لتحافظي على صحتك، لأنه بس حافظي أنت على صحتك البيت كله will be okay.
Excellent. So to summarize, Riham mentioned the fear of failure as the perfectionist, which is truly a curse. When perfectionists are trying to contemplate starting an exercise, I think we can all recall that if you are a perfectionist, maybe this will ring a bell, that you want to start exercise, you want to sleep earlier, you want to stop drinking alcohol or smoking or whatever on Monday. And these are goals that usually take a lifetime or an entire decade. So this is the perfectionist curse. So what Riham was saying is that we don't want to be perfectionists. We want to try, we want to test out, experiment, because failure of doing something, at least there is an option of succeeding. But if you're not doing this thing, there's 100% guarantee that you won't succeed in it. So definitely stepping out of this perfectionist curse and of that. And I would also like to add, if you have this as a disabling fear of being a perfectionist, I would recommend having a professional support from a counselor or a psychologist, because some of these issues are pertaining to our childhood, to the way we were brought and raised. So it's definitely not something easy, and I wouldn't take so lightly if it's affecting your daily habits and if it's affecting your health as well. The last thing Riham mentioned was prioritization. So setting priorities in the right way and giving yourself importance when it comes to priority, especially for women who have families. Riham, you have a family yourself, so you still find time to exercise, right?
100% أكيد.
Amazing. So definitely we need to set our own priorities as well, no matter how hard it is. I am not the person to give advice because I don't relate personally to how you struggle with kids and families and responsibilities around the house. But definitely if anyone would like further support on this, I would recommend contacting Riham. I will put her Instagram credentials as well from this chat. Riham, my last question to you is, what is your opinion about crash diets and sustainability? So we're talking detox diet and these cruel, harsh diets.
Keto diet, Atkins diet, low carb diet. I would say intermittent fasting, but not 100%. It's like the same مثل diets ذكرتهم، بس أكيد 100% أنا ضدهم، لأنه ما رح يعلموك how to have a healthy lifestyle أو sustainability على طول. نحن our goal is إنه to learn how to live a healthy lifestyle in a sustainable way, not like for a month or two. صح؟ نحن هدفنا إنه بدنا نتعلم كيف بدنا نعيش for good على طول. So أكتر خطأ ممكن يعملوه الأشخاص إنه when we follow a very strict diet رح نشوف amazing results. Wow, I lost like 10 to 20 kilograms, بس it's like for short term إذا بدك. خلينا نقول بعد 1 month or 2 بيرجعوا مرتين لأنه ما تعلموا شيء. طب وين eating behaviors اللي تعلمتوها؟ شو صار بالهرمونز؟ هل عدلنا الجوع والشبع بجسمنا أو لا؟ So نحن our goal is as dietitians not only بس take this diet and I will see you next month. No, نحن we teach learning, we learn, يعني we teach them how to not only how to eat or what to eat, we teach them how do they like manage their eating behaviors, their emotional eating, their مثلا for ladies during their PMS cycle, the hormones, في imbalance with hormones, how can I control it? It's okay sometimes to overeat, it's not my fault, you know. So انه كمان ما نلقي الذنب على حالنا، كمان نحن لازم نكون انه ما عنا هيدا الجلد كل ما ناكل. سو نحن هدفنا مع هودي الاشخاص بالعكس، يعني انا one of my messages انه نكسر هيدي المعتقدات عن الكراش دايتس او الفات دايتس، لانه عم تخرب كتير صحه ناس ومنتلي عم تلعب فيهم ونفسيا عم تلعب فيهم لعب، لانه عم بحسوا انه هن عم يخسروا، عم يفشلوا بكل مره بفوتوا فيها. إذا ما نحكي من الجانب health wise، يعني شو على صحتنا، أكيد نحن هدفنا شو ما كان الدايت، شو ما كان not to lose muscle mass، هيدا هدفنا، هيدا اللي priority. ليش؟ لأنه بس نخسر نحن المسل ماس، غير إنه صحتنا وقوتنا بتقل، كمان قوة الحرق الميتابوليزم بجسمنا كمان بده يتراجع. سو نحن ما رح فينا نكمل بخسارة الوزن أو برحلة خسارة الوزن إذا ما كان عندنا enough muscle mass. هدفنا نحن نحافظ عليها أو نعليها. و100% الدايتس اللي حضرتك ذكرتهم ما ابدا بيقدموا لنا هيدي الخدمه نهائيا، بالعكس بخلونا نخسر العضل، المي، واكيد شويه دهون معه. سو انا ضدها صحيا، عقليا، نفسيا، حتى للقوه الرياضيه اذا بدك، للبرفورمانس الرياضي.
Amazing. Thank you, Riham. So what Riham mentioned was that she's against fat diets and crash diets. It's interesting that you mentioned Atkins diet. That's how you know that you've been in this field for a long time ago, because Atkins used to be a fad and then no one mentions. Now it's keto, like what's similar to the Atkins. So that's amazing. Riham mentioned that crash diets can negatively affect our bodies from a physiological perspective, from a psychological or mental perspective as well, and also from a performance perspective. The weight that we're going to lose quickly at the start sometimes could be weight from water, especially with low carb diets, because we're going to lose water. It could be weight from muscle mass, and not just could, it's probably going to be weight from muscle mass. And losing muscles is not the best thing that we want to aim for, because we're going to reduce our metabolism and we're going to put ourselves in risk of musculoskeletal, metabolic, and other conditions as well in the future. So what Riham stressed on is to create a coaching experience or a coaching journey where we learn how to manage our food, how to manage our emotional eating, so that we're in control. We have this intuitive sense of eating, whether you're tracking your calories or not. One interesting thing you mentioned, Riham, also previously is calculating the calories that we're eating throughout the day, but not receiving enough nutrition from. Personally, I've been at the receiving end of this. I would enjoy myself as eating less calories that I need, or supposedly less calories that I need, but I always lose out on the vitamins part, which affect my state of being throughout the day in terms of fatigue, in terms of energy, focus, attentiveness, and all that. So that was also something very interesting that you mentioned. Thank you, Riham, for your time. I really appreciate your input. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm going to move on next to Victoria Debian. Victoria is our registered yoga teacher who's part of the WellFit team as well, and has been helping lots of people with her yoga practice. I would like to hear several things from Victoria. So the first question I would like to ask you, if there are other barriers than the ones mentioned by me and Riham in terms of sustainability and exercise and health.
Hi, Salam. Hi, everyone. So I think all the points were covered. I would really like to stress on the lack of sleep, what was mentioned, but because it's not just lack of sleep in terms of our 24-hour cycle, it's lack of sleep into our month that drags along and along and along. So if you don't sleep on one day, if you miss 2 hours of sleep, the next day you don't recover it, it will still drag with you. So it drags over a period of a week, and in the end you're burning yourself out, you're exhausting yourself, and out of nowhere you find yourself in the middle of the week not able to continue your week in the same energy that you started your week. Second point I wanted to mention, which was not mentioned, is stress management and overthinking. So this is personally, it was my biggest barrier to exercising. It's not just work or lack of time, it's also the millions of things that are in your mind throughout the day. Sometimes you have a chaotic mind where you have so many things you are thinking about, what you have to do next. Your ideas are kind of a mess inside your head, and you think, okay, I don't have time to work out, even though it's all in your head, and you're just postponing the workout to think about things which are not organized in your head. So this is one barrier I find. And Riham mentioned a very, very important point, which is for in terms of women, it's the hormonal balance. So mainly, very little scientific study talks about women's hormonal balance and their exercise routine. Most of them are focused on male subjects. Most of them are focused on a 24-hour male kind of metabolism, which your hormones regulate on a 24-hour clock, and it's the same every single day. Whereas for women, it's a monthly clock and a daily clock, and there are periods of your month where you don't have the energy. There are periods of the month where it's better to be more active in terms of calorie burning, in terms of HIIT workout, in terms of workout intensity, and doing cardio and things like that. And there are parts of your month where you shouldn't be doing these things, and instead you should be focusing on strength, focusing on specific body parts, on flexibility, on more static exercises with little or no cardiovascular intensity. So these are the 2 or 3 additional points I had in terms of barriers to exercise. So learning how to balance your nutrition to help out your system, to help out your energy in terms of supplements, vitamins, is extremely crucial to continue with the same levels of energy throughout your day. Sleeping well is a second point, and as well as all of the points that were mentioned before.
Amazing. Thank you for your input, Victoria, and especially the fact that you mentioned the low amount of studies that are done on women, and especially the hormonal imbalances and all that. This is a very interesting perspective, and hopefully this will change in the next few years. Now, Victoria, since I know you personally, one particular thing that helped you with your commitment to exercise was engaging in yoga on a more regular experience. So I would like to know how was your yoga experience in terms of commitment, and how was yoga different than any other exercise modality?
So in terms of, how yoga is different, first part of your question, there are 2 main things of how yoga is different from any other exercise. The first thing is that you're maintaining your heart rate at not a very high intensity workout. Your cardiovascular activity is kind of stable throughout the practice, and you're flowing, and you're still impacting your strength and flexibility in the same way you would in any other workout. So basically, it's easier. It's a gradual process where you're not pushing your body to a big limit where you're gonna burn out and give up quickly. So you're teaching your body how to regulate itself. You're teaching your body how to flow through with a movement that is not overtiring you, but at the same time giving you equal benefits. The second point is the impact on the mental aspect of yoga. So of course, all workouts have a physical aspect, but the edge that yoga has is the mental aspect. So especially for working people, we don't have time, we don't have the mental space, and we have so much going on in our brain. So coming back to the barrier, the solution is when you do yoga, you first, you have your centering meditation, which basically empties your mind, clarifies you, grounds you. So you need some grounding from all the chaos happening in your day. You need to organize your mind for 5 minutes, breathe in and out, and find yourself in the class before you start the training. So finding your mental space and connecting with your mental space is very important for many people, especially when the mental aspect is the one that's challenging you from exercising. So for me, I never used to look at yoga as a mental exercise. I used to, first at the beginning, I used to go for the physical aspect of it. Then I started to really look forward to just after running the whole day, I was looking forward to the second that I reached that yoga class and sit on my mat to relax and reset my mind, and then start that workout. So it's very important to have this mental clarity and release.
Amazing, amazing. So to recap, what you're mentioning as an edge is the combination of the mental and physical well-being that yoga has to offer in comparison with other modalities of training as well. And I could personally attest to this because when I do my regular fitness training of lifting weights and going to failure, it's after a long day at work or after a challenging day, it just makes it worse sometimes. Rather than exercising and reflecting at the same time, I'm exercising and creating this stress that's releasing cortisol among other neurotransmitters and hormones, which is going to crush me when I go back home. So yoga, as you're saying, is something different. It's challenging this level of cortisol and stress during the day while exercising as well. So that is very interesting. So if we would like to expand on this, for people who struggle with exercise commitment, speaking of the barriers that we mentioned among me, yourself, and Riham, how can yoga has an edge also on these people struggling with exercise commitment? How does yoga communicate with these people different than any other modality?
Okay, so if we want to mention the lack of time is corrected by giving yourself, like, yoga can be done in a sunrise aspect as it can be done in a sunset aspect. So if you try to, let's say, what difference would it make for you if you would try to go to bed 1 hour earlier and wake up 1 hour earlier, which it will make you actually, you won't lose anything. You will just lose this extra hour of sitting on the couch and watching TV at the end of the night, or overeating. Instead, you will go to sleep 1 hour earlier, you will wake up an hour earlier, and by the time you reach your office, or by the time it's 8 a.m., you are in the peak of your energy. And it's also scientific that in your 24-hour clock, 6 a.m. is where your body is the most, the temperature of your body is the highest. 10 a.m. is the time where your energy is at its peak. But that is if you sleep on time and wake up on time to regulate that clock. So having early classes will fix the lack of time. Lack of enthusiasm will also be corrected, because at the beginning of the class you also have this mental space to think, to organize your thoughts, and basically you organize all of the other things that are bothering you. So failure in reaching your goals, lack of supervision. So all of the things that we mentioned before, you sit in your class, you think about them, you organize them in certain boxes of your brain, and then you put them on the shelf during the class, and then you don't bring them back. So basically the whole class is about emptying your head from whatever is going on and focusing on the current workout. So you're basically strengthening yourself, gaining more flexibility. At the same time, you're not in the mindset where, okay, I have to, after class I have to do this, after class I have to run to this, because there's nothing going on between 7 and 7:40 a.m. and also there will be nothing going on between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. if you try hard enough to empty this time for yourself.
Amazing, amazing. That's really interesting. Again, combining the physical and the mental aspect of well-being in one modality. So let's say I am now to start this yoga training. Let's set expectations. So if I am a complete beginner with no history in exercise, one thing I'm certain of is it's going to be challenging at some point to start this new routine of first waking up in the morning and then doing a type of training that is challenging in unique ways. So if you can guide us with the expectations and how the experience is going to go, so that we don't go into this dreamer's perspective that it's going to be just rainbows and butterflies. How will it actually be?
Okay, so actually I prefer to reflect on my own experience, so that I'm not so that I don't seem like I'm giving you the one size fits all solution. I was since I moved to the GCC, I had in the first 2 years I gained 6 kilograms. In the second 2 years I gained another 6 kilograms, and I was 12 kilograms heavier than I was back in Lebanon 4 years ago. The GCC has a lot of delicious food, a lot of tempting places to go, and less time to exercise, less time to focus on yourself. So my own experience went from okay, let's try this one class and see how it goes. I had no idea what yoga was, and I went into the first class. It was nice, it was interesting, and it was challenging. But the thing is with yoga, you don't have to be at a certain level to start yoga, because yoga, you can modify every single posture to fit every type of body, because every type of body is completely different. And you cannot just give a class that is super intense and super hard and then expect everyone to be on the same level. So the gradual growth and the non-hyper challenging part, where you set your expectations, I'm going into a handstand on the first class, or is the thing that makes yoga easier. So I started from, okay, let's try this one class. Then we were like, okay, let's do 2 classes a week instead. And it became smoother and smoother, because the more you practice, the more your hands can reach your toes when you bend forward, the more you feel accomplished. So every single class you will feel more accomplished. If when you do your first arm balance, you will feel, oh my god, I did something crazy. And then you start getting into all these postures one after the other, feeling better, even mentally, one class after the other. Then I moved to 5 practices a week, because it was flowing naturally. It wasn't like, okay, I have to do 6 classes a week from the start. No, I did 1 class a week, then 2, then 3, then 5. So then I started with five practices a week. I lost all the weight I gained. I gained muscles at the same time, because it's quite a challenging strengthening exercise. So my body fat, it was the ideal situation. Basically, my body fat was decreasing and my muscles were increasing. There were some times where I didn't lose any weight, because basically I was gaining muscle and losing fat, as we discussed earlier. But still, it was an exciting journey, and every time I looked at my body composition test, it was a totally new thing to look into. So these, for me, are the benefits of yoga. And after that, after the 5 classes a week, I decided, okay, I'm gonna become a yoga teacher, and I'm gonna show this to everyone else in the corporate world, because I understand how you guys struggle. We work 8 hours a day, we sit down on the same chair, we have pain in our neck, our knees, our back from the top, and our lower back, and so many injuries can happen because we sit in the same posture all day. So this is mainly what pushed me to become a yoga teacher. I saw the benefits of going out from my office and coming directly to a yoga class. I saw the benefits of waking up 1 hour earlier and doing my yoga practice before going to work, and how it impacted my relationship with people at work, my relationship with my family. So all of these benefits that it has, whether it's on our lifestyle or on our physical, how we look at ourselves, are reasons that I decided to become a yoga instructor. And I'm not saying everyone should become a yoga instructor. What I'm saying is it's a gradual process. And for me, it took 3 years. It can take 5, it can take 10 years, but it is a process.
Amazing. It's very interesting that you mentioned the time span that it took, because we usually expect that it's going to take a few months and we're going to be pros at it. There is one specific question directed to you from one of the attendees. The question is, I usually go to sleep after 12 a.m., but when I try to do something early because I'm tired or I didn't take my rest today, then I nap during the day. So what happens is I'm sleeping late. I'm trying to wake up early. Even if I wake up early, I'm becoming way more fatigued during the day. So I get 2 hours of sleep during the day, and then I can't sleep at night. This is one of the issues that I used to face when I used to nap for a long time during the day. So any suggestions from Victoria? What would you like to say about that?
Okay, I would like to say those extra 2 hours, or that nap in the afternoon, actually, this is what is draining. So we're not built in a way to always like to nap for 2 hours in the middle of the afternoon. This is basically dragging you down and exhausting you. Your body thinks, okay, it's evening, I'm gonna sleep until tomorrow, and then you wake it up again in the middle of the night and say, okay, I want to exercise. So your energy levels will not be ideal. Your internal clock is saying, I don't want to do this, and still this is like the most comfortable thing. It's the routine that you got used to. And I used to do that a lot. Like when I was in university, this was my routine. I used to sleep 2 hours in the afternoon, and it's a phase. But if you want to focus on adjusting the sleep, all it takes is a little bit of commitment. It takes 1 week or 2 weeks to basically adjust your sleep and get used to the new routine of sleep. And think about basically, what am I doing in those last 2 hours of my day? Like, can I skip those important things that I think I'm doing on those 2 hours of the day? Can I replace them with some better activities for myself, like sleep, for example? Can I shorten my nap? Let's say start by trying to shorten your nap to 20 minutes. Let's say you'll wake up more energized because you will not go into the deepest state of sleep. You will be in a less deep state of sleep, and your energy will probably maintain at a bit of a higher level. So that would be an option. At night, try to shorten your night and sleep a bit earlier. If you used to sleep at 2, try to sleep at 12, then try to shorten it to 11. And then try to wake up early. But waking up early is the hardest part. It will be your last goal. Your first goal is to shorten your naps, sleep a bit earlier, and practice it every day. Like, because everything gets better with practice. I was so excited about my sunrise classes that I just started to push myself and wake up early. I still look like a zombie when I go to my sunrise classes. I still sometimes sleep the first 5 minutes of the class, but I managed to wake up because of the motivation I have to work out. So maybe starting something in the morning will motivate you. Maybe scheduling your exercises and not canceling on them in the evening will also help you to change your sleep routine.
Amazing. Thank you, Victoria, and hope that addressed your question. Personally, I can attest to what you said, because when I used to nap during the day, I would struggle for the entire week or the entire next few days in waking up and sleeping early. But when I resist doing this, I feel like I need to go to bed at 10, 11 p.m., which changes the entire next few days, not just the next day. So yeah, definitely this afternoon nap, as pleasurable as it is and as enticing as it is, it's really annoying. I would like to add one thing to the benefits of yoga that you mentioned, especially in the poses and in your own journey. When we start learning the yoga poses, it has a major effect on the levels of self-efficacy, especially for those who are struggling or they feel intimidated of working out in public. But especially for the guys, I still recall this. When they start learning certain poses that are difficult, let's say for the ladies, they feel like that the ladies are doing better in terms of flexibility, but then they do the crow pose. So they feel like, hey, I'm strong, I can achieve this. And then they start carrying out these exercises in the gym. So for example, for you, it's the handstand to share this. So when you go to the gym, to a fitness gym, and you have these certain capacities or capabilities of doing exercises that general people at the gym can't do, you feel like you have this edge. So your gym experience also is better. And I need also to add here to stress that you don't just do yoga, right, Victoria? Like you still go out and work out in the gym and do other stuff. And I think yoga, from my knowledge of you, helped you become more committed to other types of training. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's not just commitment to. So I do other things like kickboxing. I like to experiment with dancing, with other activities as well. I used to be a basketball player before. So basically, it's not about that it gets me efficient in other things. It's more about, okay, if I do yoga, whenever I do kickboxing, a movement that a normal person would basically sprain their muscle or hurt their ankle or break their neck or something else, is something that becomes smoother for me because my tendons, my ligaments, my muscles are basically long. They elongate because I become more flexible. So the time I raise my leg to kick the kickboxing bag, for example, I don't hurt myself. Where maybe someone who is not as flexible could could injure themselves. Same as for people who work at the office. So when you sit for 8 hours and you have the same posture for 8 hours, then you like maybe you just turn to grab something from the floor or from your bag. You hear your back crack or make things. So the more flexible you become with yoga, this also helps with preventing other injuries more than the basically the motivation to work out. It's more the injury prevention aspect of things.
Amazing, very interesting. And it's all a combination. So when you're able to do yoga, you start, or when you're able to do any type of activity, you start enjoying challenging yourself in other parameters as well, and you always find an edge. Even scientifically speaking, this is referred to as cross training, which is a recommendation for even the elitist athletes to reduce their injuries and to strengthen themselves in weaker components. So thank you, Victoria, for your valuable input. Thank you, Riham, as well. And thank you for all the attendees for sticking around. So we passed the time that I was expected to do, but that's more than fine, because this was a very engaging and insightful session. I would like to end by announcing something new that we're doing in collaboration with Victoria as well, which is online training in the morning under the name of WellFit Virtual Club. So WellFit Consultancy is starting the WellFit Virtual Club from tomorrow to start to do online training sessions in the morning with qualified instructors. The reason why we decided to do this is to challenge most, or to overcome most of the exercise barriers when it comes to commitment and sustainability, which we mentioned today, in terms of finding time, in terms of being able to work out with a qualified instructor, in terms of creating or enjoying an engaging experience with someone else. So we made sure to create a high-end audiovisual experience where you're not just working out with an instructor through Zoom with poor quality audio or visuals. It's a session that's going to be around 30 to 40 minutes in the morning, so it's not going to take a huge portion of your day or your time, so that you feel more comfortable in terms of its sustainability. And we made sure to make these sessions as affordable as possible. And to take this an extra notch, you're going to have a 3 weeks worth of free trials. So we have the online yoga training. We have 2 other types of trainings that we provide as well. And I just added the link in the chat that you can always access. And I'm going to add it again on LinkedIn and Instagram. I added the credentials of Riham, Victoria, and WellFit Consultancy as well, for you to refer back to. We hope to see you in these sessions. If you struggle with any form or any type of barrier that we can address in these online morning trainings, in terms of affordability, in terms of space, commitment, sustainability, creating or having this engaging, enjoyable experience with qualified instructors who are going to help you and provide you feedback if you're doing any exercise in an imperfect form or in an incorrect technique, we would love to find you and to have you in these sessions. Thank you again, everyone, for your attendance. I really enjoyed this. We're going to have this on YouTube for your further or for a future reference as well, and to share this with everyone else. And we're going to have much more of these engaging webinars and online meetings. So I hope to see you all in the future portions of the session. Until then, hope you have a nice rest of your weekend. Hope you sleep early and well, so you have your enough quantity and quality of sleep. And to start seeing you starting this week from tomorrow and on in our online training sessions, and to engage from that point and on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Riham. Thank you, everyone else. And have a good night. Bye-bye.